Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Lumière Learning Monday, where we interview inspiring people. And we have our YouTube channel where we have a host of role models for Lumière Light and Insight. So, my guest today is Rashmi Urdhwareshe, nee
No.
Rashmi Ranade, who has a very, very illustrious career. She has spent her lifetime in automotive engineering, a very rare field for women. And Rashmi is going to talk about her journey and her beliefs in what she believes is a gender neutral workplace, which should be the dream or a vision for getting more women to join the workforce and stay invested in the workforce, right up to meeting the demands and challenges of personal and professional life, but not staying, getting deterred from reaching the highest ambition that you may have. So, Rashmi, welcome. We're recording today on Holy Day, so happy Holi to you and to yours.
Thank you, Deepa, and I wish the same to you as well as all the viewers. Looking
So,
forward to a very good discussion today.
yes, Rashmi. So I want to start at the beginning, and I want you to tell our audience to establish your journey on how you set yourself to do engineering and the choices you made getting into a very, very, at that time, a male dominated field.
Well, the journey has been wonderful so far. Let me, highlight to you how did I end up into making an engineering career. I was always a very bright student in schools, and as the convention would be, a bright girl or a boy chooses to be either a doctor or an engineer. It so happened that the engineering college was next to my house, and I used to always see those boys, rushing with their portfolios for the exams and all. So, kind of, that was my dream college. Also, coupled with it, it so happened that I got very good scores in the PCM discipline. The natural choice was to go. I had an affinity for physics, chemistry, as well as maths. Although I loved bio, but that's a choice which I made at that time, and ended up into a college which was very, very deeply dominated by men. And
Hmm.
it was a regional college of engineering. There were boys from all over the country, and the journey began, really speaking, in 1977. That's when I got into engineering college.
So when you joined engineering, your parents, did they do the natural thing of saying, "Why are you not doing medicine"? Did any of that happen? What was
Yeah,
there?
there was a little bit of influence from my parents' side. They wanted me to be a doctor. Both of them were professors, so it was taken that I would be into, making a good career for myself. But then also my parents had that freedom at house, so I could choose. To some extent, they aspired that I should be a successful doctor, but it didn't happen. But they were okay for me to be in engineering college and do well wherever I go. They did support, and those were not the days where the parents would ensure that I enter into coaching classes and all. We all studied in colleges themselves, and therefore the parents, as such, didn't have any influence on which subjects I should choose, because they knew that I'm not going to be in their subjects. My
Yeah.
father was from political science and mother from geography, which both these subjects I didn't like at all. So,
Amazing. When you went into engineering college as a probably a rare bird at that time, Rara avis, there must have been few women in
yes.
engineering at that time. So, what were some of those experiences, and how did you find yourself influenced or affected, if at all?
Yeah, very rightly you highlighted that those were the days where handful of girls were there. In fact, I was very lucky that we had a group of 8 girls that time in my
Mhm.
batch, and that brought us together as a very strong group. In fact, the friendship we got formed at that time. Till today, it continues.
Wow.
All 6 or 7 of us, at least a few dropped out, but most of us are still connected, and we ensure to meet very frequently. When it came to the environment, it was obviously very dominated by the boys, and it was a difficult time. We all were a kind of looked as showpieces, so to say, in the engineering discipline. It took us quite a bit to establish ourselves as a serious students of engineering. I took engineering of electrical branch. Um, that was considered as suitable for girls to some extent, and therefore we didn't have too many hardships when it came to lab exercises and things like that. But overall, the college atmosphere was very difficult.
Mm.
And it's only through our internal strengths and our own, group that we could survive. We could enable ourselves to do what we wanted to achieve in those studies. There was another aspect to it. We also, our college offered a lot of extracurricular activities.
Mhm.
Um, I was very fortunate that we had at home, my parents used to play bridge, very serious bridge actually, the tournament bridge. And I was very good at that. And that's where actually I broke the glass ceiling. I became a bridge player at very early age in the college, and went with the boys as my partners, and won a lot of tournaments that changed their view towards me.
Mm.
I was also in the dramatics, taking part in whatever way I could. I used to play sitar, I was my music inclination also changed a lot of my uh, surroundings and the kind of friends that I could choose from.
Yeah, I think they say that women have to work that much harder and
Very true.
excel in multiple things so
Yes.
that we are taken seriously.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that struggle actually made me ready for the future. That's how I would look at it in retrospection.
You also said that there were 6 or 7 girls who are in touch. How many of them stayed in their professions and made careers for them?
They all did.
They all did.
It was in their own capabilities, in their own surroundings. They chose their jobs. Um, they all feel that I'm the one who really stood out and did a very strong career, actually.
Hmm.
But in my view, they also their struggles were real also. Um, so most of them have done successfully well in their chosen fields. Um, we are very happy when we meet each other because post engineering, many of them also nurtured their other hobbies, their other inclinations at much later phase. Many of them took early retirements and pursued their other hobbies,
Hmm.
but they never left the engineering field as such. So
Wow,
if that
that's very
is,
good.
yeah,
Yes, wonderful. So, out of 8, 6 of them continued with their
yes.
work. Rashmi, did y'all have campus placements at that time?
Yes, we did have. In fact, as I mentioned, I grew up in Nagpur and did engineering from Nagpur's regional college. Nagpur is known for its, geology and mining industry, and also power sector. So those were the kind of jobs which were offered. There were lots of placements which happened from also the engineering organizations who came from Western Maharashtra or rest of the world. In fact, if you ask me, did I appear for any campus? I didn't, because in the third year itself, I was destined to get married and move to Pune. And
Oh,
unfortunately, in the placement agencies or placement kind of drive, there was no company who came from Pune. So
oh.
I was kind of waiting for it, but then that's another story.
Then what happened? You came to Pune, you got married, and then?
Yes, I in my fourth year, that is the final year itself, I got married. In fact, I got married just one day after my exam was over. So it was such a kind of transition. And I moved to Pune, and I had decided to continue my studies and do post graduation in continuation. That's one valuable advice which my mom had given me, that if you do want to continue with your engineering education, do it right across. Don't take a break in between. If you join or take up a job, there will be a lot of time required for you to settle in, and then you won't be able to go back to the engineering college. So I followed that advice. I immediately took admission, and I completed my post graduation from Pune Engineering College.
And that was in what? Your post graduation?
That was in digital electronics.
So these choices that you made were also very smart now, Rashmi, because I'm sure that would have been so valuable for you in your role in
Yes,
research.
yes. And in fact, those 2 years very, very valuable for me, which allowed me to also settle in a new environment at home,
Hmm.
new city, making new friends, and relatively easy kind of life in the engineering college.
Hmm.
So that was a smart choice, as you said, but thanks to my mother, I think I followed her advice. And then, of course, as I was completing yet the fourth semester of MTech, I did get an opportunity to join a research organization, which is the start of my career.
Yeah. So tell us about the, automotive and automotive research and being a pioneer in the whole field of safety, EVs, and all of the things that we take for granted today, but we are now talking to the woman behind it, or part of the leading teams that have made some of the emission norms that we experience in our cars and the EVs that we see on the road or where we are on the global map. She's the face and someone we're going to talk to. So those of you who've joined in just now, we are talking to Rashmi Urdhwareshe, who retired as the director of the Automobile Research Association of India and has represented India in many, many international and national fora. She also won the Nari Shakti Award in 2019, where she was decorated, and the president of the country awards this to women achievers. So we are talking about Rashmi's middle phase now on how she carved a niche for herself and rose to the highest echelons of her career. Rashmi, what happened afterwards?
Yes, Deepa. So that is the beginning of my professional journey, which started in '83. I joined ARAI as a trainee engineer, and that also as a chance I took. I applied and I got selected for a trainee engineer position. The position was basically a support function in testing and validation. Because I came from electronics background and instrumentation as my expertise, etc. I was, seen as a support system for all the testing and validation that was done by the organization. Slowly, I realized that, I ended up into an automotive field, and I must therefore acquire higher and higher studies, higher skills to be able to make an impact. I therefore articulated various skills, hydraulics to begin with, then safety systems, crash testing, then emission measurements. Those were the migrations that happened to me. And slowly within the organization, also the roles got changed,
Hmm.
um, from a testing engineer to a researcher to somebody who can work on the hardcore electronic controls that would later on go on to the vehicles. Um, those That was the kind of journey. And then during the middle course of my career, I was also instrumental in setting up the business excellence
Hmm.
systems that would, govern the quality systems at ARAI. Then subsequently, I moved into a very, very vehicle specific area on vehicle regulations, and also testing and validation of the vehicles and approval of the vehicles.
Hmm.
That's the area where you will hardly find any women coming in.
Yes.
It made me also a very, very important resource for person internally to kind of come up with the research data that would later on be utilized for setting up the regulations. So I worked on crash, I worked on electric mobility, I worked on electronic control systems that are required on the vehicles, and slowly migrated towards national level contribution in making these technologies available for the industry for absorption, available for the government to formulate regulations, and also within the organization enrich ourselves by taking up projects that are finally going to be useful to the society. That was the overall contribution that happened during my career at ARA. I, of course, handled various national as well as national responsibilities as a part of ARA role as such.
No, this is fascinating. And what we also can see is a very planful approach to investing in yourself in the context of your career, knowing industry is going to need certain things, having a sense on the trends, and therefore saying how is it that you should go and skill yourself and keep yourself future ready for the roles that may come in the organization. Did you have a mentor at these times who was guiding you to study these subjects or to develop an interest and knowledge in these subjects?
Well, mentor not in the true sense as you have put it. I had, of course, mentors who would advise me on the behavioral aspect or advise me on the leadership related role that would come up in future. On the technical side, I was fortunate to have very good bosses
Hmm.
who would also give me on one side a kind of freedom to think about the future, also allowed me to articulate the teams that would be doing, you know, making contributions in future, and also prepare myself to take different roles.
Mhm.
So through that kind of mentoring, I was able to envisage, plan my transitions much, much more effectively. In fact, I still remember by 2014, there was a possibility that I would take a director position there, and I did apply for that, and I did finally get selected. But that time, that was one transition where I realized that it was from a technocrat to a CEO position, and which required
Yes.
very different skills. The first thing I did was sit down and read a book which was given to me by my previous director as a present.
Mhm.
Um, and that book really taught me how do I get ready for the next role. So I made a transition plan which allowed me about 6 months was the transition as I took that position of director. That plan included also how do I read and write balance sheets, because that is something which is not taught to technocrats so professionally. So that's how actually the journey became much more meaningful, and I could contribute much more in a deeper sense than just taking a role, but also getting the second line ready with me as a team. That was another learning which I had, because your effectiveness or your contribution very largely depends on how your team performs. So that was another mentorship aspect that you know I was fortunate to receive.
You talked about behavioral aspects and leadership, and you said you had mentors for that. But before that, tell us the name of the book that you read.
Yeah, it is about 100 days. That was basically 90 days plan. Getting ready for the 100th day, you need about 90 days of planning. So the book talked about the methodology. The book talked about the behavioral aspects. The book also talked about how you can discipline yourself in those 100 days.
So
That
it
was
was
very
prepare.
invaluable kind of practical book. It
Yeah,
carried a lot of worksheets also, which I still have on my some reference books. Yeah.
amazing. While you were getting ready for professional leadership, you were also leading your family, and I guess your family was also growing. Tell us a little bit about that, the times when you felt, that tension that is unavoidable for working women professionals, where you felt, why am I doing this? Or you felt some pulls saying, is it worth it? Or uh, some trade offs that we have to make in our journey. So, you want to spend a little time talking about it.
Absolutely. I mean, there were many such occasions where I thought I should give up. I should kind of step down or at least take a break. But those were not the days where taking a break was that easy. All I could do is basically slow down a bit, make the right choice because the family needed it. It was when the child is born, when the child is growing up. That's one critical phase. Second is caregiving phase, where my mom and dad were they were getting old, and I had to be a caregiver for them. So was the case for my in-laws. Every woman faces it. And then, of course, your own priorities on health and things like that. Many occasions on which, or even those occasions where I got very good opportunities elsewhere to be taken up. Those were the occasions where on which I did prioritize on my family. I did uh, kind of give up a lot of opportunities that were opening up. There were lots of frustrations through which, inevitably one goes. You have a lineup of activities happening in the workplace, and you have counter activities happening there. I did work on developing excellent rapport at home that included extended family. Of course, the immediate family was very close to me, but also what I realized was I was always seen as somebody, who is highly capable, very good manager. So everybody would call me when they were in crisis. If they are all going to have a fun time and a party, that time they probably didn't remember me so much. That was one small observation which I had. And I somehow changed that kind of, because they always used to conclude that Rashmi is very busy. She's not going to find time for it. So I kind of articulated, changed my lifestyle, changed my time priorities, and gave time for a lot of leisure activities, lot of hope-bound commitments that I could make. That made a lot of stress relatively at work. But then, that's a trick of the trade to manage effectively both worlds, that you would love. I loved my career. I loved my family.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You're a mother, you're a mother-in-law, you're a grandmother, and you continue to wear many hats professionally as well, even now. So just tell us a little bit about, uh, what is it that is Rashmi's trade secret of balance and having the kind of calm and peaceful demeanor that you have, Rashmi. I met you briefly, but I can experience that you are a person who can really be very calm in difficult situations. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I was my office was located on the top of a hill called Betar Hill in Pune, and while going and coming from that beautiful location, I always used to drive in my own car or a vehicle, and those 10-15 minutes I would use to transform myself from a housewife into a professional and backwards from a professional to housewife. So I kind of learned to compartmental myself, not carry home any work tensions, and vice versa. That was one trick which I used, because when you come home and kind of carry with you a lot of stress, the immediate reaction is जाऊ दे सोडून दे, um, day job सोडून, or just leave it kind of. So that's, you are not looking for that kind of reaction. You're looking for somebody who will listen to you, and the person who can listen to you is only if you are con- you know talking sense. So I learned that trick. So that is, as far as behavioral moderation goes, I learned that people listen to you. They can listen to your problems also in a different manner if you articulate your problems. So with it came the calm and quietness in my behavior. I also realized that that was a part of my learning also. I'm otherwise a perfectionist, and I therefore tend to be very rough at home. The same behavior doesn't work uh, at office, isn't it? So my family members always used to observe that. They used to say that when it comes to people, you are very sweet, but when it comes to teaching everything, it's us that who have to suffer. So that was another learning. So I did balance that in my behavior so that I am equally accessible to everybody. I'm equally calm and quiet to everybody. While I can take out my anger, while of course I can take out my feelings, but in a much more controlled and a defined manner than just blasting out. So that was a kind of skill that I developed.
And that's the self awareness, and even again managing yourself. You have got so many accolades, so much respect worldwide, and yet I found you very grounded, very modest. Tell me a little bit about managing the this grandness, which is not coming out as a egoistic person, but so humble, so down to earth, and so modest. So tell us a little bit about managing the personality and the attitude to handling success and fame and still staying grounded.
I think, to think about it, I think it has a lot of, it is with the roots of the family who were grounded, who also taught me to be humble as a person. Where even in schools and colleges, the success never kind of astrayed me. I could take it in its own stride. I could also take failures for that matter in my own stride. That was a learning which I had. Also, I was very greatly influenced by the fact that true to your core values, whatever is your inner core, if it radiates outside, then the truthfulness reduces the personality stress also. You don't have to articulate anything. So I'm a very simple and down to earth person to the core. Sometimes my job and my profile required me to be very differently dressed and behaviorally very different, aggressive sometimes. But that would be only with the knowledge and with an articulated positioning myself. I would still very quickly go back to my core of being very comfortable in what I wear, being very comfortable in the way I talk. So I kind of learned very quickly that simplicity is a virtue by itself. It's not something which many people have. I
Beautiful.
remember, yeah, I remember going with my mom as a child. I was a schoolgirl, and we attended a wedding, and everybody else was very nicely dressed, and I was wearing a normal, simple, but nicely stitched dress, and I minded it before going. And till such time, somebody came forward and said, "Who is that nice and simple-looking girl?" Somebody inquired, and that's where my mother told me. I said, "Look, you shine because of your intelligence, because of your behavior, your virtues, and not just because of what you are wearing, etc." So that's a fundamental learning, and the core therefore remained quiet, simple, unassuming, or even down to earth and grounded. That helped me to a great extent in handling my successes, which came naturally. I didn't aspire to be a Nari Shakti awardee. It so happened that I was fit enough to be chosen or given that kind of award at the hands of Honorable President. But when it became to choosing my career, choosing my actions, I never aspire or aimed at earning something. That's how I would put it.
You are not someone who will be sitting quiet after your retirement. So, what do the next 5 years look like for Rashmi?
It's already post retirement. It's already 3 or 4 years now. I What I've done is I've consolidated my learnings into something which I published as a part of the book, which is Women at the Workplace, which happened during COVID, by the way, and it gave me also an opportunity to kind of put across the thoughts which I'm sure all the ladies will find it useful. The second is I also am working as a director at Pune Knowledge Cluster, which basically looks into the scientific approach towards solving the societal problems. The third aspect is I'm an independent director on various automotive companies now. I give back to these companies on various technologies that are meaningful to them, advise them, mentor them on the future, sustainable mobility related business that they may like to expand. And of course, at home, there's a lot to be done, lots of opportunities for expanding my own um, skills and also spending time with the family. And also, priority is my health.
Amazing. What an inspiring and uplifting and at the same time calming. If there can be a contradiction like that, on the one hand, you feel that your aspirations are growing, but you energetically you feel calm and you feel grounded. And that's what being around Rashmi Urdhwareshe does. It did that for me. And I met Rashmi 2 weeks ago. And when I asked her if she'd come on this talk, she's come and she's done the talk. And I've also had the opportunity to read Rashmi's book, Women and the Workplace, a gender neutral approach to carving successful careers, where she uses her life's experience as a working professional, as a woman, as a woman in more rarefied, male dominated professions, and uses her wisdom as well as what she's done with her travels, her reading, to put in a very, very accessible way what we can do, what organizations can do, and what individuals can do. I think both she has covered very, very succinctly in her book, and I strongly recommend this as a almost a bedside guide, and especially for those times when we feel, oh, is it worth it? Should I just give it all up? I think this is the time to go to Rashmi's book. So thank you very much, Rashmi, for coming and talking to our guests, our audience, and I wish you all the best. We'll be watching you, and we look forward to be engaged and doing things together with you.
Thank you, Deepa. It was such a pleasure to meet you in person as well as today, and wish everybody a very good success in their own chosen lives.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you so much.